Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to dive deep into the Washington quarter dollar, one of the most iconic and significant coins in American numismatic history, a coin that has not only served the everyday needs of commerce for over 9 decades, but has also provided endless fascination for coin collectors, investors, and historians alike. Beginning with its introduction in 1932 to mark the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, when the United States government and the U.S. Mint decided to replace the standing Liberty quarter, which had been in circulation since 1916, with a new design that would honor the nation's first president, a decision that would forever change the quarter denomination and set the stage for one of the longest-running coin series in U.S. history. And as we trace this journey, we must begin with the origins, the competition that led to the final design, and the symbolism behind John Flanagan portrait of Washington that still graces our quarters today. For in 1931, the U.S. Treasury held a competition to design a Washington half-dollar, but later shifted the concept to the quarter denomination instead, and though Laura Garden Fraser's design was initially chosen, politics and preferences intervened, resulting in the adoption of John Flanagan portrait, a decision that sparked debate among artists and collectors, but one that has remained in place for nearly a century. And when the first Washington quarters were struck in 1932, they were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing 6.25 grams and measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter, specifications that would last until 1964 when silver was eliminated due to rising costs. But in those first years, especially 1932, the mintage numbers were very low for the Denver and San Francisco mints, with the 1932D and 1932S becoming instant key dates that continue to anchor Washington quarter collections to this day, as only 436,800 were struck in Denver and 408,000 in San Francisco, making them incredibly scarce compared to the 5 million-plus coins struck in Philadelphia, and these low mintage issues in high grade have brought staggering prices at auction, with a 1932D graded MS66 by PCGS selling for over $140,000 and a 1932S in MS66 condition exceeding $100,000, demonstrating the enormous value potential hidden in what was once just a 25-cent piece. And as we progress through the 1930s and 1940s, we encounter a mix of high and low mintages, but silver quarters from this period are all worth more than face value due to their precious metal content, with especially desirable dates including well-struck pieces from the early 1940s and the scarce 1937 double die obverse variety, which shows strong doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," a mint error that can be worth thousands of dollars in uncirculated condition. And moving forward to the wartime years, 1942 through 1945 saw large mintages to support the wartime economy, but collectors today prize pristine examples with full details, and proof Washington quarters struck from 1936 to 1942 in very limited numbers are among the most beautiful in the entire series, displaying sharp devices and mirror-like fields that can fetch several $1,000s depending on grade and cameo contrast. Then after the war we enter the 1950s where silver remained stable, but collectors noticed improvements in strike quality on proofs struck in Philadelphia beginning in 1950, and by the 1960s the demand for silver was climbing. The price of silver bullion began to exceed the face value of circulating coins, and the government had to take action. So in 1965, the composition of the Washington quarter was changed to a copper-nickel-clad planchet with a pure copper core sandwiched between 2 layers of nickel, reducing the intrinsic value and ensuring quarters could continue to circulate without being hoarded for their silver content. This marked the end of an era as the last 90% silver quarters were struck in 1964. And today all pre-1965 Washington quarters are sought after for their silver melt value as well as their collectible status, with millions still found in collections and occasionally in circulation but rapidly being removed by sharp-eyed collectors. And even among the clad coinage that followed, treasures exist. For example, the 1965 clad Washington quarter struck on a leftover 90% silver planchet, an extremely rare transitional error worth thousands of dollars, while the 1970s proof quarter struck on a Canadian 25-cent planchet sold for an astounding $35,000, showing how error coins can elevate ordinary pocket change into extraordinary collectibles. And perhaps the most famous clad quarter variety is the 1972D double die obverse, which shows doubling in the motto and can reach several $1,000s in mint state. And in 1976, for America's bicentennial celebration, the Washington quarter was given a special one-year redesign featuring Jack L. R's Colonial drummer on the reverse along with a dual date, 1776 to 1976, a coin that was minted in massive numbers for circulation as well as special 40% silver collector editions sold in sets. And although most bicentennial quarters are worth only face value today, pristine silver examples and error varieties are collectible and remain nostalgic symbols of America's 200th birthday. and after 1976 the standard eagle reverse returned until 1998 when the most ambitious coinage program in U.S. history was launched, the 50-state quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008 and issued 5 new designs each year honoring each of the 50 states, a program that introduced millions of new people to coin collecting and made the Washington Quarter the centerpiece of numismatic education for an entire generation, with some issues such as the 2004 Wisconsin Quarter with an extra leaf high or extra leaf low variety becoming valuable rarities worth hundreds to thousands depending on condition, and after the state quarters program ended, it was followed by the D.C. and U.S. Territories quarters in 2009, and then the America the Beautiful quarters from 2010 to 2021, featuring national parks and historic sites across the country, again expanding the Washington Quarter series into a vast modern collection. And in 2022, a new era began with the American Women Quarters program honoring influential women in U.S. history, showing the adaptability and longevity of the Washington portrait design, and throughout all these changes the obverse portrait of George Washington has remained a constant, though updated in 2022 with Laura Garden Fraser's original design finally being adopted after 90 years of debate, bringing the story full circle. And when we reflect on the Washington Quarter as a collectible series, we must note the incredible range of value within it. From common-clad coins still in circulation worth 25 cents to ultra-rare key dates, silver proofs, and dramatic mint errors worth tens of thousands, making it a series that truly has something for every collector at every budget level. And what drives the most excitement are the headline-making auction results, such as the aforementioned 1932D and 1932S, or superb gem 1940s proofs, or dramatic off-metal errors, which consistently bring eye-popping prices at major coin auctions, fueling demand and inspiring new collectors to hunt for treasures in pocket change. And that is what makes the Washington Quarter dollar so fascinating, for it is not merely a coin but a storybook of American history, artistry, and economy, a mirror of changing times and evolving tastes. The Washington Quarter dollar is one of the most iconic and widely recognized coins in American history, and its journey from conception to circulation has been nothing short of remarkable, making it a favorite subject for collectors, historians, and anyone fascinated with United States coinage, because while it might seem like just a 25-cent piece that people use in vending machines or for everyday purchases, the reality is that the Washington Quarter embodies rich symbolism, artistic vision, political decision-making, and an evolving story of American identity reflected through its many designs and minting processes over nearly a century. And to fully understand this coin we have to begin with its origins during the early 1930s, when the United States was preparing to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth in 1932, an event that carried enormous national pride and cultural significance during the Great Depression, when people were seeking inspiration from the Founding Fathers, and Congress authorized a special coin to honor Washington's bicentennial, with initial discussions considering a Washington half-dollar to replace the Walking Liberty half. But eventually the decision was made to redesign the quarter dollar instead, and that's how the Washington Quarter was born. And in its earliest form, the design process was highly competitive, with many artists and sculptors submitting their work, but the Treasury Department and the Commission of Fine Arts eventually selected the design created by sculptor John Flanagan, who chose to feature a bold left-facing bust of George Washington on the obverse, based on the celebrated bust created by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon in 1786, which was considered one of the most accurate likenesses of the first president, and Flanagan design captured Washington's stoic expression and commanding presence, with the inscriptions, Liberty, across the top, In God We Trust, to the left of Washington's portrait, and the date below, while the reverse originally depicted a heraldic eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing America's strength and its desire for peace, and this reverse design remained the standard for decades, from 1932 until it was replaced with modern variations much later. And the first Washington quarters were struck in 1932 at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with the Philadelphia coins lacking a mint mark. And because of the bicentennial year, the coins were struck not only for circulation but also as a way to honor Washington, which added to their appeal among collectors. And right away, certain issues like the 1932D and 1932S quarters became rare and highly sought after, because their mintages were very low, with only 436,800 coins produced in Denver and 408,000 in San Francisco, making these the key dates of the entire Washington Quarter series. And collectors know that finding these coins in high-grade condition can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the quality, with pristine mint state examples commanding enormous premiums at auction. And this pattern of rarity and value is what makes the Washington Quarter so fascinating, because while billions of them were minted over the years for everyday use, certain dates, mint marks, And errors have become treasures in the world of numismatics. So let's explore not only the history but also the evolution of this coin, starting with the fact that the early Washington quarters from 1932 until 1964 were struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing 6.25 grams with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, which made them not only valuable for their face value but also for their silver content. And as silver prices rose in the 1960s, the United States faced a shortage of silver coinage, leading to the Coinage Act of 1965, which eliminated silver from the quarter and replaced it with a clad composition of copper and nickel, reducing intrinsic value but allowing mass production without relying on precious metal. And this transition marked a major turning point in U.S. coinage history, because collectors often prefer pre-1965 silver quarters for their beauty, weight, and silver value, with many people even hoarding them during the silver shortage of the 1960s. And while the Washington quarter continued to circulate widely in its clad form, the coin underwent new transformations over the decades, including one of the most ambitious coin programs in U.S. history, the 50-state quarters program launched in 1999, which ran until 2008, celebrating each of the 50 states with a unique reverse design, followed by the 2009 District of Columbia and U.S. Territories quarters, and then the America the Beautiful National Parks quarter program from 2010 through 2021, each time breathing new life into the Washington quarter and making it one of the most collected modern U.S. coins ever produced. Because millions of Americans, even those who were not coin collectors before, began collecting state quarters directly from their pocket change, and the program introduced a whole new generation to numismatics, showing how the Washington quarter has continually evolved to remain relevant. But even before these programs, there were notable special issues, such as the bicentennial quarter of 1976, struck to commemorate the 200th anniversary of American independence, featuring a special reverse design of a colonial drummer with a victory torch surrounded by 13 stars, and dated 1776 to 1976, rather than the usual single year, with both copper-nickel clad and 40% silver collector versions minted, making these an iconic part of the Washington quarter's long history. And speaking of iconic issues, the Washington quarter also includes numerous rare varieties and errors that command incredible values at auction, such as double die obverse, off-center strikes, overstrikes, and transitional errors, with some of the most famous including the 1934 double die, the 1943 S double die obverse, and the 1950 D/S over mintmark variety, all of which are highly prized among serious collectors. And then of course there are the modern rarities, like the Wisconsin State Quarter extra leaf varieties from 2004, which show an additional leaf on the corn husk design and have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and the 1999 Delaware Spitting Horse variety, caused by a die crack on the reverse, which has become one of the most well-known error coins of the State Quarter series. And all of this proves that the Washington quarter is not only historically significant but also a treasure trove for error and variety hunters, making it one of the most rewarding coins to study, collect, and appreciate. And when we talk about values, it's important to remember that while most Washington quarters are only worth their face value of 25 cents in circulated condition, certain rare dates, mint marks, and errors can be worth hundreds, thousands, or in rare cases, even tens of thousands of dollars, especially in top mint state condition with professional grading from services like PCGS or NGC, and auction records show just how impressive these values can be, with coins like the 1932D and 1932S in pristine condition bringing enormous sums, or unique error pieces drawing intense bidding wars. And this possibility excites people to check their change and search through coin rolls even today, keeping the Washington quarter at the heart of modern coin collecting.